This podcast is a part of the Podmania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. To the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom, right here on the Podmania Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt, how are you today?
Rob, I'm excellent, always excellent to talk to you. And one of the reasons why I'm excellent is you realize that in this day and age, you can literally pick up your smartphone, go on YouTube and type in Misawa versus Kawada, and you can watch every single one of their matches. So, I mean, how bad can life be right now?
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. I mean, I can't remember if I was doing it for a podcast or if I was doing it for some sort of written review. And I was like, I need to sort of brush up on the New Japan versus the UWF sort of feud. And someone sent me a link, and it was every video that pertained to that feud. I was like, this is insane. Like, tape traders in the 90s would have literally killed to have the amount of stuff at the fingertips that we have. And big shout out to King's Arc on YouTube, because they are constantly uploading Noah and All Japan from like the 80s and 90s. It's tremendous. It really is.
I was a big tape trader in the mid to late 90s. And, that's, I talk about all the time, my favorite era of wrestling is that All Japan Kings Road stuff. And you would read on message boards about like this banger of a match that like Kawada and Misawa would have, or Holy Demon Army. And you would wait 6 or 7 weeks to get like, to get the stuff from Japan, or you're literally getting a copy of a copy of a copy where like the tracking, you literally have to stand there and mess with the tracking the whole entire 40-minute match. Now it's like you hear like this Noah had this banger of a match with like Kino and Nakajima, and literally within like 2 or 3 hours it's up on YouTube. Like, it's just crazy.
It's ridiculous. I mean, with the streaming service and everything, there has never been a better time to get into wrestling, or indeed Japanese wrestling, where, especially 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was so notoriously difficult to get into certain products. But, Stardom's one of them. I mean, Stardom, it's so easy to get into Stardom nowadays, especially with Stardom World, even if their upload schedule is a bit dicey at times. But there we are. I mean, what a time to be alive, Matt. What a time. And
yeah, absolutely. We've been getting a lot of people over, the past 2 or 3 weeks that have been asking us on social media, and we thank them. It's like, I'm just getting to Stardom, I'm just getting your podcast, like, where do I start? And I tell them, I said, if you don't want to invest any money right now, I mean, most of the people that I talk to, they're American, so I told them, look, it's only $8.25, but you're still, per month, but if you're still not sure, just go on YouTube, because they're Where Our Stardom. It's probably about 3 or 4 weeks behind, but it's all clipped, and they all tell you, like, the name of the moves. Like, if Mayutani hits the big two-stage dragon suplex, they'll show a replay of it, and it'll show 2-stage dragon suplex. So I always say that's, it's free. If you have a smartphone and decent Wi-Fi or whatever, that's always an easy way to go into it. And I always say, if the first one's free, so if you do enjoy it, I do, obviously you as well, highest recommendations to, get onto Stardom World.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while we're talking about this, obviously, we released on Wednesday our second Patreon exclusive episode, which was the match review between Arisa and Tam from Shining Destiny 2019. Now, I know that I've had loads of positive feedback from our patrons, Matt. I don't know if you have, if you've had any feedback regarding that episode.
Yeah, I have. Everybody seems to like the flow that we have going, and we appreciate all the positive feedback. And if you think there's something that we can improve on, by all means too, we're all about taking, some good criticism, constructive criticism, and it's always something that me and Rob, we text all the time back and forth about how we can just keep improving. But we really appreciate the support. It seems like every time that I check the podcast, or I check my Instagram or my Twitter, there's always some positive feedback or some really good questions from the fans, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough. And just on the sort of theme of our Patreon, I just want to shout out our great patrons: Joseph Usher, Rob Jones, Niagara Driver, John Owen, Velkic Baraka, Tom, Ed BC, Brandon Neal, Steve Clark, Emerson Stone, Alex Tremaine, Adam Pritchard, IWEP Network, and Mike. Thank you so much for all of your support on our Patreon. Of course, if you want to go and subscribe to our Patreon, there's 3 tiers. High speed tier is $1 a month. That would help us out tremendously. The white belt tier is $3 a month, and the red belt tier is $5 a month. Our February Patreon episode sort of poll, so you have voted. That's now closed, and the 2 episodes that we're going to be doing in February, the first dropping on the 2nd of February, is going to be the top 10 hidden gems from Stardom in 2021, which I am super, super excited about, and I know you are as well, Matt. We've been texting each other going, right, I think we should have this match. What about this one? What about this one? And it is tempted to put almost all of the 5-star on there, but we've been very restrained for that. And then obviously our second one, which will drop 2 weeks from then, is the Stardom Ryogoku Cinderella Champions Fiesta 2013, which of course is the previous time that Stardom ran Sumo Hall. So those are going to be our next 2 Patreon episodes. The March bonus polls will go up on the 1st of February, so get yourself down to Patreon/the Stardom Cast to go and vote on that. Just before we jump in to the New Year's Stars Tour, which has continued, obviously, we've got just a little bit of news. So obviously at the end of this month, we have got the 11th anniversary show, the Nagoya Supreme Fight show. Just a little bit of an update in regard to ticket sales. We Are Stardom put out that the VIP seats are all sold out. The Arena S, so I presume that's further back, are all sold out. The front of the stand are all sold out. There's only a few stand B seats. All the female limited seats are sold out, and the under 25 seats are sold out as well. Now, when you think that top of the card is Syuri versus Mirai, who's had 1 singles match and I think 4 matches or 5 matches after this run, that shows how well Stardom are doing at the moment and how well that name is, sort of built up at the moment, Matt, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really it's almost like a smaller version of, WrestleMania will always sell out 80% of the tickets before they even announce the card, because just based on the name. I think that they realize that they trust in Stardom, that they're going to have a good show. They're booking a bigger venue, and it is their anniversary show. And just me going through the back catalog of Stardom the last 2 weeks, I mean, look at some of the main events you've had at these anniversary shows. I think I was texting you back and forth. There was this banger of a match that I've seen before, but I just revisited it with, it was Mayu defending the World of Stardom title versus Momo. So it's just like, man, what would that match look like, in 4 or 5 months, especially with the, the big heel turn from Momo. So I think the fans realize that they're always going to get, at least 2 or 3, 4.5 star matches, plus just the momentum that Stardom has built over the last, 2 years, especially this last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with just, the consistent, fantastic work, the great storylines, going into it. So obviously we'll talk about it, we'll preview it, but I'm looking at the card and it's a super stacked card. There's not one match that I'm like, well, that's the bathroom break, or that's where I take my nap, or that's where I go make myself a sandwich or something. Everything really looks, solid. And that's what Stardom brings. They bring pretty much all killer, no filler.
In the words of Sum 41, absolutely. So they've also released the tour schedule for February. So we've got February 1st at Korakuen, February 6th in Sendai, February 12th in Osaka, February 13th in Kyoto, February 20th in Chiba, February 21st at Korakuen. February 23rd is the big show for February, Cinderella Journey 2022 in Nagaoka. We've then got February 26th in Hyogo and February 27th in Mai. So we've got quite a few dates, including 2 Korikens and a big show in February. So Stardom, absolutely no intention of slowing down, it seems. I just want to go through, Matt. There's been, and again, I can't put over at 1222 Dragon Moon enough on Twitter. Their translations are absolutely fantastic, and they've done a couple of translations regarding some interviews that have taken place with Tokyo Sports, and I just want to go through a couple of these thoughts, Matt. So the first one was an interview with Julia, and this is what is said, translated by Dragon Moon. I feel attached to the white belt, so I want to hold it again. But now that Shiori won the red belt, Mirai will challenge for it, and Himika is also interested in it. I, as a fellow DDM member, can't afford to watch this development in silence. Rossi told me the white belt was to be defended within Stardom, while the red belt was to be defended also against wrestlers from other promotions. There are many good wrestlers out there I want to fight with a title on the line, and I need the red belt to make that happen. Now, this whole idea of people being people who are, in contention for the red belt, or indeed people who are holding the red belt, this has been a theme over the last couple of days, that we want to wrestle other people as well. We don't just want to wrestle for the red belt, the World of Stardom Championship. We do want to wrestle all over the world. And actually, Shiori said, in regard to her match with Utami, she said, Kairi-san came to a show and told me my match with Utami on the 12th of June at Ota Ward received very high praise overseas. I was very happy to hear that, but I'm not satisfied. I want the whole world to know more about us and see me create my own world in the ring. And then she followed that up by saying, I think the red belt will help me promote myself as a wrestler worldwide. I believe my old rivals and partners like Asuka in WWE and Hikaru Shida in AEW will find it interesting to compete for the red belt against me. I want to make those matches happen someday. So, as we come out of the COVID-19 sort of lockdown, we sort of find our way getting towards, hopefully, the thinning of the mist, as it were. Stardom seemed to be eyeing up that, I hate to use the phrase, that forbidden door. We could be legitimately seeing a Shiori, or, depending on who comes out of World Climax as the champion, maybe a Julia in AEW, or in, not necessarily a WWE, but maybe an Impact or something like that. Is that something that excites you, Matt? Are there any matches in particular that immediately jump out at you and you think, Jesus Christ, I would love to see that match?
100%. I mean, there's a lot. Siri kind of tipped her hat there, and even Julia in that interview kind of put over the white belt, saying that she would love to compete, for the white belt again. And we've seen it in main event shows before. We talked about it on the Patreon episode that you just talked about how, we talked about how when Arisa won the white belt, was actually the main event over the red belt. And in the Budokan Hall show, Julia main evented with the defending against Tam in the hair versus hair match over Utami and I believe it was Saya. So just the interview right there basically keeps putting over the white belt that it's just a half a shade below the red belt, which is great. You're just building up stock, and you're, for lack of a better term, of a secondary belt. But to answer your question, yeah, obviously, there's a lot of dream matches you want to see, either for the red belt or a contention for the red belt. And you do have that quote unquote forbidden door open. We're living in a COVID era, so it is kind of difficult. However, Tony Khan from AEW is a multi billionaire. So he's got that private plane where he can probably fly, 2 or 3 people over from Japan and back and forth to try to get, some more recognition on the product and on the women's division. I've talked about it, I think not only here, but several interviews that I've done before, where I would love to see Mayu Iwatani, do a 3-4 week U.S. tour, where she's on Dynamite and some other shows as well. Like, I think a Mayu versus Britt Baker match would help both the products. Britt Baker, you can talk about whatever you want to in the ring. I think she's improved so much over the last 2 years, but as far as the character goes, she's one of the most over females in all of pro wrestling. So I think that would, that's a dream match that I would like to see. Obviously, Shida's back in Japan. I mean, we'll talk about it when we talk about, Saya trying to figure out who this mystery person is on the 29th. Well, she knows because she's seen. And I think that's a possibility. It could be, Hikaru Shida. Obviously, Riho is doing fantastic work over in AEW, the first women's champion. I would love to see her, in a Momo or a Julia. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you even look at Impact. Yana Peraza is doing phenomenal work over there. I would love her to see come over and, again, COVID pending. I would love to see her in the 5-star and just work with everybody. Or maybe they bring 2 or 3 people in from AEW or Impact or, from, Ring of Honor. Maybe Roxy, who was their last champion before they kind of ceased operations for a little bit. Maybe they bring her over for a tour or for the 5-star. So, we'll see what happens. Again, we're all at mercy of COVID. So it's exciting time. Exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Exciting time to be a Stardom fan.
Absolutely. And just to tie off your point, Mina's come out and said, again in Tokyo Sport, my goal for 2022 is to make my own path like nobody else does here. I've always wanted to wrestle foreign wrestlers. I want to win the SWA belt so I can go on an excursion with it and I can face more different types of wrestlers than I can find in Japan. Obviously, that sort of adds a wrinkle to my thoughts, because I thought this was nailed on to be a Tekla victory when we get to Nagoya Supreme Fight. And obviously, we'll talk about predictions at the end of the podcast. But if Mina is allowed to go to, a tour of America, a tour of Europe, and face, people from WXW or, people from Britain do Rev Pro or ICW or even do Progress, for example. And that's without going to America and doing, your Impact, your MLWs. I know that, is it Providence have just put together a relationship with TJPW. So, even smaller companies like that. We saw Io Shirai having that red belt fight on the Stardom Cast Extra with Casey Owens. So to put something like that together would be fantastic as well, and would definitely raise the profile of Stardom. The only concern I have is obviously what we saw with Riho, especially in the last throes of her relationship with the company. We saw Riho very much going through the motions because AEW didn't want her to take a pinfall. Understandably, she was contracted to AEW. This is nothing against AEW. It's good business. And obviously, you don't want her to look weak. You also don't want her to get injured. So she was very limited in what she could do. And she was in the tag league, I believe, with Go Kick and Death. So basically we had, 75% of death in the match, which, is instantly far too much death. And then Riho would come in, do 3 moves, and then would sort of tag out again. And I think their team got 2 points, and Riho didn't get pinned the entire tour. So that's my only concern. If we're going to have relationships and build our company up internationally, which would be fantastic, obviously, there needs to be something where, we don't just do timeout draws and, trying to keep everyone strong. Because as Chris Jericho said, if you try and push everyone, nobody gets pushed.
Yeah, just to kind of tie up 2 points you just said there, talking about Riho, obviously, they protected her when she was in Stardom and then she was obviously their first champion. So it makes sense, when you look at it from a business point.
Absolutely.
From Tony Khan, it's just like, and then 2, you talked about how Death took all those pinfalls during the tag league. Do you think that's the reason why she constantly wins these multi-person matches now? It's like,
just to even it out.
It's like, yeah, since you had to take all those falls, you had to take 9 or 10 of them, we're going to give you every single win where there's more than 3 people in a match.
If there's a match on the pre-show or opening up and it is more than a singles match, so a 3-way, a 4-way, a 5-way, you can bet your bottom dollar that Go Kick and Death is winning that, or Fu Kick and Death, as she's now known.
And now we know why. I just tied it together. Now the fans know why.
And now the fans know why. Because of that one tag league tour, that's why we have to endure so many Fu Kick and Death victories.
That's going to be our inside. That's going to be our inside joke now. Anytime we review a match where she gets a win, and we're like, oh, she as soon as the match was over, she texts and said, "Thanks, Riho."
Well, she is in the pre-match battle royal at Nagoya Supreme Fight, so do not be surprised if she walks away with the victory there, which is what I think. But we'll get on to that in a minute. Right, so let's kick in to our show reviews. We're looking at the shows from the 15th and the 16th. Obviously, as we record on the 22nd, there is a show going on right now, and obviously there is a show tomorrow as well on the 23rd. But obviously, those shows haven't happened yet, and they're also not on Stardom World, so we can't do that. So we're going to be looking at Night 4 and Night 5. So we're going to start with the New Year's Stars Tour, Night 4 on the 15th of January 2022 in Tajimi City Industrial Industrial Bunker Hall in Gifu. The attendance is 208 people. It's the first time Stardom have run this venue. Dragon Gate ran it in December as part of the Fantastic Gate Tour, and they drew 383 people, but that did have an Open the Brave Gate Championship match on top between SB Kento and Monde Ryu. So a bigger show from Dragon Gate, hence why they drew more people. But Dragon Gate is also, in my opinion, a little bit bigger than Stardom. But we open the show with a singles match. Mina Shirakawa defeating Waka Tsukiyama with the figure 4 leg lock in 8 minutes and 9 seconds. I actually really enjoyed this match, Matt.
Yeah, it was you're kind of looking at it, and Waka still is, finding her footing. There's a lot of things she does good. We talk about all the time when these multi-person matches are building and they're getting towards the end, that she has a lot of these really good inside cradles, how she gets into them, and the ref does a really good job of, counting 2.9. But Waka's still finding her footing, and you kind of had Mina here kind of leading the match. Yeah, the match was pretty good. You said it went only about 8 minutes, which I thought was the perfect time. They kept the psychology simple. They didn't try to do anything too crazy. My only complaint is Mina was going over with the figure 4, and it seems like it was so damn sloppy getting into. So, obviously she'll figure it out if she's going to try it out on a show. This is one to do it with, especially with her current stablemate as well. But yeah, this was, nothing crazy, but I didn't think it was bad by any means. Everything was really solid. The psychology made sense, and they got in, they got out, and no harm, no foul.
No, absolutely. And I do just want to shout out Waka for her selling on this, because Mina does work the leg relentlessly. And again, I'll say it till the cows come home that I am a big fan of when a limb is worked and worked and worked and then plays into the finish. And they did that pretty well here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mina trying to get into the figure 4, it did come across as quite sloppy, but I thought Waka sold the pain really, really well. There's one where she got whipped into the corner and she barely got there with the leg pain. But it was also interesting as well, over these two shows, we'd see two very, very different sides of Mina, two very, very different matches. The match that she has here with Waka is completely different to the tag match her and Tam have with Julia and Tekla the next night. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later, because I have some thoughts on Tekla, but we'll get to that in a moment. We moved on then to a three-way match. Utami Hayashishita defeating Mei Sakurai and Saki Kashima with the German suplex in 8 minutes and 32 seconds. In the pre-match promo to this, Utami said her grandfather had come to watch it tonight for the very, very first time. And as soon as she said that, I just thought it would be WWE levels of shithousery was she to now eat the pinfall in front of her granddad. It would just be unreal. Thankfully, that's not the case. She ends up pinning May with the German suplex. But, aside from Utami's granddad and her grandmother, who she also talks about, there's not a great deal to talk about here.
No, I was shocked how much Saki and Mai got in the match. But obviously, Utami was the star going in. And she throws a great German suplex. I mean, she's got a lot of moves that she goes to. She's got the BT bomb and the kryptonite crunch, and the way she works the rear naked choke. But, I'm sitting there watching the finish. Again, yeah, there wasn't much into it. Again, it wasn't bad by any means. Obviously, Utami's the star in the match, and we're here just to get Utami over. But it's watching her finish with a German suplex, and I'm thinking maybe that's what maybe she should go to as a finish. I think that move might be the best one in her arsenal. Interesting.
I mean, I love the hijack bomb. I'm never going to not like the hijack bomb. She has got a beautiful German suplex. I mean, maybe she can give it to May, because Jesus Christ, May needs a new finishing move. That diving elbow is possibly the worst one I've ever seen. But
yeah, not only that, but when you hear diving elbow in Stardom, who do you think about?
Yeah, exactly. It is nothing like Kairi Hojo's. It is the most wooden elbow drop I think I've ever seen in my life. But I will say May looked a lot more solid in this. And I don't know if you saw this, the mark that Utami had on her face from the amount of kicks she'd eaten to the face between Saki and May. She looked in considerable discomfort. But yeah, this is a match where it's literally an exhibition match. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, but also nothing really advanced either, apart from to give Utami a victory. Match 3 then, tag team match. Cosmic Angels, Unagi Sayaka and Tam Nakano defeated the Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamatani and Lady C with the Taiji Da'ata in 13 minutes and 23 seconds. Look, we're obviously going to talk about the finish. And unfortunately, that's probably what this match is going to be remembered for more than anything else. So before we talk about the finish, Matt, what did you think about this match?
The match was really good. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of all four. I'm a huge fan of Tam and just how well she does. I talk about this every week, and I will talk about it every week, about how well she does, not only getting herself over, getting her opponents over, and getting her other stablemates over. Last week, I talked about in the 6-person tag match where her and Mina were basically, they had a whole bunch of really awesome double team spots with Maika and Himika. And I even wrote in my notes, boy, I would like to see Tam and Mina be like a constant tag team and make a tag title run here. And literally my first notes are Tam and Unagi keep getting better and better together. I like to see Tam and Unagi make a run for the tag belt. So, and we'll talk about it when we get to the next day's show with the tag match. But the tag match, is the tag division, when you look at it on paper and take a step back, the tag division and potential for the tag division this year, it's absolutely stacked. It's absolutely stacked. But, moving on, Lady C just keeps getting better and better. I love the way she sets up her chops, and she's so tall and her arms are so long that when she pulls back for the chops, it's like you just see this fastball coming from like a mile away, and there's nothing you can do but just eat it. So yeah, I thought this match, obviously the main point in the match that everybody's going to talk about and we're about to talk about is the finish. But leading up to it, I thought it was really, really solid, and I really, really enjoyed it.
I don't ever like to say I'm wrong. In fact, Matt, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm never wrong. I'm just significantly less right sometimes. And I concede defeat on Unagi because Tam and Unagi might be one of the most entertaining pairings in Stardom right now. The chemistry that they have together, the
dance, not to cut you off, but the dance in the beginning, with that,
exactly,
it's amazing.
And Unagi does feel like a star. Again, I don't think she's walking away with the white belt in Nagoya, but this is going to be a huge year for Unagi. And unlike, the start of 2021, where she was, in my opinion, rightly given a lot of criticism because of her work and the amount of, opportunities she was getting early on, I feel like the more opportunities she gets, she does deserve them now because she's grown so much. And the aggression of both her and Lady C in this match added so much to it. I actually thought that Unagi had better chemistry with Lady C than she did with Saya, which, props to both women, definitely. The chokeslam Lady C delivers to Unagi. I don't know whether Unagi just jumped a little higher, but it looked incredible. It looked brilliant. Unfortunately, that does lead to the finish where Unagi almost breaks Lady C's neck with the Taiji Da'ata. Now, whose fault is this, Matt? Is Lady C just too tall to do this move to? Does she not tuck her neck? Does Unagi not get enough leverage? I was very forcibly reminded of Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin from SummerSlam 97. Obviously, thankfully, Lady C hasn't broken a neck, but, it was that sort of thing. Whose fault is it? Is it anyone's fault, Matt?
Everything you said right there was pretty much dead on there, Rob. As someone that's been in these positions before, it's just a freak accident. And I think a lot of it, if anybody, you can put the blame on anybody, which you're not. It's wrestling. This stuff, unfortunately, it happens. You can go injured in there all the time. I think if you're going to put any blame on anybody, and I'm not, is whoever decided this was a kind of a good idea, just because Lady C is so tall and Unagi is Unagi's kind of short. I think like just the dynamic of the move just didn't make sense. And Lady C didn't tuck her head in all the way, but it was kind of just a freak accident. I know she was off. I think the next few shows, I think she's going to be cleared to wrestle. I don't know what the report was, if she had a concussion or a stinger, but you can kind of see right afterwards the ref squeezing her hand. And that's something that you do, just get a little inside baseball. If you do a big move like if I take a top rope brain buster or a tombstone or a dive, you kind of, as you're going for the cover or whatever, the ref's checking in on you, they'll do the squeeze of the hand, and you squeeze back to make sure they're okay. And I saw I don't know who the ref was. The ref did that to Lady C 3 or 4 times, but you can see it on Unagi's face. She wasn't happy at all. She realized that there was a mess of a move there. But again, it's wrestling. It's really not anybody's. It just happens. It was just maybe a little combination of everything, and hopefully she'll be okay.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. There's a beat where everyone stops in the ring. Like, it's almost like everyone goes silent. The bell rings and Unagi doesn't celebrate and looks like she's seen a ghost. I assume there was supposed to be some confrontation between Saya and Unagi, but that was put off a little bit whilst they made sure that Lady C was okay. Thankfully, she seemed to be okay, and we did manage to get to that confrontation between Saya and Unagi, which was far better than anything else they produced in the match. The aggression and legitimate raw sort of emotion that they had in that sort of closing sequence where they had to literally be dragged off one another by the referee added far more to that match in Nagoya than I think anything else did in the match. As a result, as you mentioned, Lady C was pulled from the next night card. She isn't present on the cards for the 22nd and the 23rd either. Hopefully, and this is pure speculation, but presumably just as a precaution ahead of the Nagoya Supreme Fight, Future of Stardom title match with Hanan. She is still scheduled to appear at that pay-per-view. Fingers crossed that she is all right. But that does lead to the next thing that I just wanted to briefly talk about. And obviously, it's not going to impact this card, but it definitely impacts Night 5. The talent missing is quite astonishing. So you've obviously got the long-term injuries to Sayarida and Natsuko Tora, so obviously they're still out. But then on top of that, you have got Hanan, Rina, and Hina, who have all been off these cards, presumably due to school. You have then got Fukigen Death, who has been off the cards because obviously she is a freelancer, so she has been doing stuff with other companies. Natsupoi, who has been off all of these cards because I believe she is in some sort of drama production. And then, of course, now you've got Lady C off these cards as well through injury. And, you know, none of those are sort of main event talent, you know, upper mid-card talent, even apart from maybe Natsupoi. But the amount of people missing does certainly eat into those cards. And we'll talk about how they managed to reschedule Night 5 in a moment, but it's a lot of talent to miss, Matt.
Yeah, it is. And it's unfortunate. And it's all, it's all injuries or other things that aren't really, other than Lady C, which we think she's okay. That's not anything major. And then you throw in COVID. I mean, literally at any minute when these competitors come into the arena and get tested, which I'm assuming that's what they're doing. If anybody tests positive, you can be out in main event. You know, you look at even yesterday, we were supposed to get a reunion on AEW of the Best Friends, but Rocky Romero, when he got to the venue, tested positive. I'm sorry, not Best Friends.
Roppongi
Vice. Yes, I apologize. We're supposed to get that reunion, and Rocky tested positive. So it's like you just don't know when somebody's going to be out. But you kind of just have to make the best out of a bad situation. Stardom does this. Maybe just give longer matches, and not only that, but then this is, you got to turn a positive into a negative. There's nothing anybody can do if somebody's in school or somebody tested positive for COVID or somebody's injured. But if you're one of these mid-card talents or underneath talents, again, you turn a positive and negative, and you have to take advantage of the situation because you're going to be put in a bigger spot. So, I mean, that's basically the best, most positive way I can look at it. And then you just, hopefully everybody heals, or they heal when they can, and they come back safe. Because ultimately, at the end, it is wrestling, and we just talked about before at Lady C, accidents do happen, and the bumps and bruises, they take a toll, especially when you're wrestling. All these cards, and Stardom just keeps running more and more shows, which is great. It's great for the fans. It's great for the talent to get more reps in. But it's also, you have to think in the back of your head, it's more opportunity for somebody to get hurt as well. So I think that's just, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to pro wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you look at those, none of those are Stardom's fault that they are missing. It's just, unfortunately, one of those things. You're absolutely right. With the constant of COVID at the moment, we are sort of at that mercy. I mean, I know that a Noah card was disrupted because of COVID. I know that New Japan, one of the 6-man tags, one of the people in the 6-man tags tested positive, and therefore the entire of that match, so all 6 competitors had to be pulled from the event, the following event. So it really can tear a hole in your booking. So Yeah, Stardom did a tremendous job booking Night 5, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Match 4 on this card, though, was a 6-woman tag team match with the Donna Del Mondo team of Julia, Tekla, and Mirai versus the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Hazuki, ending in a time limit draw of 20 minutes. Matt, what did you think of this one?
It was really good. I always have a smile on my face anytime I see the graphic come up of Mayu, Koguma, and Hazuki. They're probably my favorite three as far as like the constant of 6 women tag teams, and they've been ever since, really, for the past 4 or 5 months. You always see the three of them teaming up, and plus they do a couple of spots where they do a little throwback to the Freedom. So I always smile for that. I know you kind of alluded a few minutes ago you wanted to talk about Tekla, and I actually have a lot of notes on Tekla. And I don't try to be negative at all in my life or with wrestling or in Stardom, but I'm kind of just going to throw some shade here. And hopefully Tekla gets better when it comes to something, because we had the question asked to me last show, what do I think about Tekla and Mirai selling? And I was paying special close attention to Tekla. Like, she comes out, she's got a connection with the crowd. There's no doubt about it. She has this energy that's completely different from anybody on the roster. She sets herself apart with it. But like, her selling or her lack of selling in certain parts just kind of takes me out of what she does. Like, for example, and she's done this before, where she was getting hit. She started the match out with Koguma, and Koguma was throwing these forearms in, and she's like not selling and then laughing and basically not giving Koguma anything. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know if that's by design, but I don't like it at all. And Koguma, it's not like she's somebody new. She's part of the tag champ. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, if she's in there with Mayu, who's an absolute legend, she better sell. Or if she's in there with Hazuki and she's not selling, Hazuki's just going to rip her apart. So Mayu gets tagged in. Mayu just beats the shit out of her. Pardon my language. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, if you don't sell for Mayu, not knowing, again, maybe this is what Stardom wants. They don't want her to sell, but Mayu gets in there and I'm like, you're not going to sell for Mayu. It's like they literally might throw your bags on the bus and be like, you're done. You're out of here. Mayu just comes in, she's kicking her, she's chopping her, and then Hazuki gets in there, and then but it's just weird because she'll take a move or take a bump, and then she'll sit up, and you can see her sell for like half a second, and then she starts smiling and laughing. And to me, it completely takes out of whatever anybody's done to her. That, and I also kind of, again, not to, keep beating her down, because I think she's got a ton of potential, and I hope the way that Unagi proved you wrong last year, she proves me wrong. But like her finish, or not her finish, but where she does like the spider crawl into the spear, it looks cool, but the psychology of it doesn't make sense. And what I mean by that is she'll do the spider crawl, and then as she's getting up for the spear, the other person is standing there for like 3 or 4 seconds, waiting to hit the spear. And whenever I'm like teaching a class or a seminar, or someone's asking me for advice, it's the simplest thing. Like, okay, so say, Rob, me and you are wrestling, right? I have you in a headlock. And we know the spot is you're going to push me off the ropes and you're going to eat a shoulder tackle. If you push me off the ropes and I'm coming running at you, not unless you're like 50 pounds bigger than me, if I come running at you, you're going to move out of the way. And the way I teach it to some students or anybody that's listening, I said, let's just take it from a real life situation. If you're walking in the road and you see a truck coming and the truck is 20 or 30 yards away, are you going to move, or are you going to stand there and wait for the truck to hit you? You're going to move. So it's the same thing when I teach the shoulder tap. You want to, throw the person, and you want to kind of either spin, or you don't want to see the tackle coming or the move coming until it's too late. And I just think when she's getting ready to do that spear, it's either on her or on her opponent, where they need to sell a limb, maybe look at the crowd, like say if somebody ducks a close, like say I'm just going to use Maika because she throws really good clothesline. So she goes to throw, the spot is she's going to throw a big clothesline. Tekla's going to duck, she's going to do her spider crawl, and she's going to hit the spear. So maybe Maika throws the clothesline, she throws it so hard that she kind of almost spins herself around, and it takes 2 or 3 seconds to get back around. By the time she gets around, there's the spear. So to me, that just takes me out of that fancy move. And again, her selling or lack thereof, I don't know. I just don't understand it.
I found it more egregious in the tag team match on night 5, the selling. But you're absolutely right. I think the best person who's taken that toxic spider spear is probably Starlight Kid. I think at Corrigan.
Yeah.
And that was because she turned around so quickly and Tekla was there straight away into the spear. you mentioned that contagious energy that she's got, and she has, she's got that relationship with the crowd, and everything she does is so over the top. Her, the way she is in pre-match promos, she's so over the top, so energetic. She comes down to the ring, she's so over the top. Her offense, she's so over the top. And I don't know whether they're doing some sort of impervious to pain or enjoys the pain angle. So, she wants you to forearm because she enjoys being hit or something like that. If that's what they're doing, that's not how it's coming across at all. It's coming across as sloppy selling. Now, that's not to say that Tekla is a sloppy wrestler. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, the question was asked to you, Matt, last week, I think on by Valkage on Discord, in regard to Mirai's selling in particular. I thought Mirai over these 2 nights, her selling improved stupendously, especially in that singles match with Unagi.
Loved it.
I thought
I can't wait to talk about that match. Yeah, go ahead.
It was a really good match. But Tekla, I thought his selling was actually significantly worse. And that laughter at the start, like, I understand it with the whole Mina angle, because it's sort of a comedy angle that then transitioned into, a more hard-hitting affair. But this, it just seemed, you mentioned Mayu. Mayu drilled her with some machine gun chops, like really properly hit her hard to the point where Tekla had no choice but to sell. Has it in any way, and I was going to ask you this question after the tag match, but I'm going to ask it here now that we've talked about it. Does it lower your expectations for that SWA match at Nagoya Supreme Fight? Or do you think it's just, do we need to wait and see Tekla in a singles situation where there is something on the line?
Well, we're about to find out on the 29th. It kind of lowered the expectation a little, but at the same time, it's like, I'm going to watch and see. I'm not going to. She's only had one singles match with Saki, so we'll see. She gels really well with Julia. And if they're going to do, obviously it's a conversation for another day, but if they're going to do a DDM Civil War, and that's who she pairs off with, that's a really good tag team. But yeah, there's just some stuff she does that just takes me out of it. And again, you talked about how when she eats these forearms, is it supposed to be she's impervious to pain? It's like, okay, I see, the point you're making there, but 5 seconds later, Mayu's in there chopping her, and then she's selling. So it's just like, well, one or the other. If you're going to go all in on the bit. If you're this killer and they're going to dress you up in a bear costume, you got to go all in on the bit.
Cannot wait to talk about Maika the Bear.
Yeah. Hashtag Rob Goodwin was right. So I was like, oh man, you called that one. But other than that, I thought the match was really good. Obviously, you have some excellent workers in here. You're building Mirai up. Julia, ever since she's come back, she's just been on fire. Not that she was by any means less than a main event worker before her injury. And obviously you have the fantastic team of Mayu Koguma and Hazuki as well. So other than that, which kind of took me out of the match right in the beginning, and then you bring Mayu in. And again, these 3 are so good. The Stars team, they can work goat, a sheep, and a paper bag. I think I nailed it. And the match will be really good.
Absolutely. And I would be very interested, especially on Discord, because I know we've got quite a few people who watch Ice Ribbon. I'd love to know what Tekla was like in Ice Ribbon, because I'm obviously my entire exposure to her is just Stardom. Was this a character flaw in Ice Ribbon as well? Was it portrayed a little bit better in Ice Ribbon? On Twitter, even if you've got experience of Tekla in Ice Ribbon, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Tekla's initial sort of goings in Stardom. We then get to the main event of Night 4, and it's a 6-woman tag team match with the DDM team of Shiori Maika, Bear Maika, by the way, and Himika defeating the Oedo team of Momo Watanabe, Starlight, and Ruaka, with Shiori pinning Ruaka with the buzzsaw kick in 17 minutes and 29 seconds. Let's talk about it. It's the bear in the room. Let's talk about it. Maika, she's been hypnotized by Koguma's dance. She's become a bear. She's lived in the wild. She's understood what it means to be a bear. What the Pardon my French. What the fuck was this, Matt?
Wait a minute. You're saying what?
I loved
you're
it.
the one that called it. just to give you
what the
listeners,
hell?
just to give you listeners a little insight. So we record this show. We record it on a Saturday, right? Now, it's funny because as we record these shows, there's literally a Stardom show going on or just about to finish up. So Rob, I don't know if he said on the podcast or he told me before afterwards, he's like, I think Mike is going to come out like dressed as a bear. And I was like, oh geez, like I don't know, Rob's drinking at this point, God bless him. So I go to the gym. I go to the gym after we wrapped up the show last week. I come home, I go on Twitter, and I was like, son of a bitch, how did he like, did he get tipped off? Like, is he the new Dave Meltzer of Stardom where he's got like moles in the locker room where it was like Sherry took a picture and sent it to Rob and it's like, hey, put this over on your podcast, kid, you know?
Me and Sherry are very, very close, obviously. That is my in to Stardom.
There it is, folks. You heard it right here. You only get that. What other Stardom podcast gives you that inside information? Come
exactly. Honestly, I was watching this one at work because I got a free period and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to watch this match. And I watched it and I was in the staff room on my own. It's a good job I was on my own because I absolutely wet myself laughing when Shiori and Himeka are there in the opening promo and they're like, where's Maika? And then this bear appears, just completely zoned out of absolutely everything. The crowd are loving it. The crowd absolutely pissed themselves laughing at this. Just, like you say, if you're going to go all in on the bit, you've got to go all in on the bit. And Maika again, you know, to beat the bear, you've got to become the bear.
Wow. He just Ric Flaired it. He just Ric Flaired it. Holy jeez.
Honestly, this is going to sound ridiculous, I haven't got any other notes for the match because I spent the entire time laughing about the fact that Mike has come out dressed as a bear. It was a decent match. I thought Himeka and Momo had really good chemistry. Just Himeka throwing ridiculous clothes. I think her clotheslines are becoming better and better and better, and the six-woman of her, Maika and Mirai, just launching lariats from left, right, and centre is a really, really entertaining concept to me. But I thought Himeka looked really good. I told you before about just how quick she is over short distance, like proper sprinting into people in the corner. You can see some members of the Stardom roster who, when they're doing a splash in the corner, there's no real impact into it. Bloody hell, when Himeka does it, good grief, she squashes opponents.
Yeah, she uses her size to her advantage because the rest of the roster is small, and Mike and Himeka are both throwing those crazy, crazy clotheslines. So, yeah, it was entertaining. I know you don't have a lot of notes because you were distracted. I had, again, it was a solid match. You kind of had a small preview. They teased a little of Shiori and Momo, where it was like, you're throwing those kicks, and we haven't really seen the two of them clash. I don't know if they were in tags towards the end of the year, but anytime I see Shiori and Momo, especially when they were throwing kicks, I had flashbacks to their fantastic 5-star final. So that was good. Then I also have another note in here. Momo and Starlight Kid, these past few shows are working really well together. And will they be the MK Sisters 2.0?
Whoa. Oh. And they are doing the whole... what was the move that they did? The Tiger Feint kick, which her and Mayu used to do, but Momo does it with just a kick to the back. So they are certainly pointing that way, and I would love to see those go for the Goddess. And they did sort of tease that they will be going for the Goddess of Stardom titles at the end of Night 5. I would be more than up for that, Matt. More than up for it.
Yeah, it seems, and again, we'll talk about it when we talk about the final match here from the next show. But that tag division, I'm just really, the potential for it, I'm really, really intrigued to see where they go. But again, these kind of quote unquote road to shows, they're all just kind of building up for the main show and just kind of based on this whole bear thing. I wouldn't be heartbroken if the main event of the show next week is FWC versus Mike and Himeka. I mean, man, is there any better built match going into it? I mean, for Christ's sakes, they turned Maika, who's a badass, who's almost beat Siri a few times. Well, she beat her in the 5-star. She beat Utami in the 5-star on night 1 and almost beat her for the belt a few months ago. It's like, we turned her into a bear. And you're like, what? You're like, no, yeah, you need to watch it. It works, and it's working, and she's committing to the bit. So man, we'll see what happens. But it's just like, damn, how did Rob figure that one out?
A bear gimmick on a pole match. It could be the next thing, the next first in Stardom. Just Koguma versus Maika on the next pay-per-view, a bear costume on a pole match. Could be. And we'll talk about this at the end of the next show. But Maika does say that she's got a special idea of how to beat the bear or to avoid Koguma's hypnosis. So I'm intrigued to know your thoughts on that, Matt, and what that's going to amount to.
A clothesline. It's a stiff-ass Stan Hansen clothesline.
She literally clotheslined the bear out of Koguma.
That'd be awesome. You just show, like they just show her watching tapes, and you just hear the All Japan announcers going nuts and like, what are you watching? Like, don't worry about it. I got a special formula. That's it. She's watching Kobashi versus Stan Hansen just live the crap out of each other from like '93.
You know, in Avengers, where Hulk is talking to, I can't remember who it is, it's the boss of Doctor Strange, and she taps him, and you've got Bruce Banner flying out of the body of Hulk. That's what I imagine happening. Maika just clotheslining Koguma, and then the ghost of a bear just escaping Koguma's body.
Oh, I never seen a comic book movie. No, yeah, that's all I've seen that movie 3 times in the theaters. Yeah, the ancient one. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, like we said, obviously with Lady C's injury, this show from the 16th of January had to be rearranged. So there's going to be some different matches, and it basically affects the first match in the main event, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this was from the Loser Hotel Toyohashi in Aichi. It was in front of 260 people last year. Only Dragon Gate ran it, so I'm going to be talking about some Dragon Gate stats in a second. This is the first time ever that Stardom have run the venue. Dragon Gate, again, like I mentioned before, were the only promotion to run it in 2021. They ran it in July as part of the Hopeful Gate tour and drew 208 people, and then in February as part of the Truth Gate tour and drew 202. We opened with a 3-on-1 handicap match with Syuri defeating Waka Tsukiyama, Mei Sakurai, and Ruaka with the Zanshu in 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Now, Matt, I did an entire Stardom book cover in 2021, and I had no idea that her gutbuster was called the Zanshu. No idea at all. I don't think I've ever seen Syuri pin someone with it. But you know what? It worked.
Oh, you wrote a book? Wow.
I don't know if I've told anyone about this.
What's it called? Where can people get it? Go ahead, buddy. Get it in there. I threw you the
You
ball.
did. You did lob it up for me. I've just got to hit it out of the park now. It's called Living the Dream. You can get it wherever you get your books. The paperback is, of course, on Lulu. And the ebooks you can get from Lulu or Amazon. Please go and check it out. It was a labor of love. Yeah, there you go. Little subtle plug there for you all.
Boom. Yeah, this is... I didn't know that either, because I don't think I've ever seen her beat anybody with that. Obviously, she uses the buzzsaw kick. She uses the Emerald Flosion, which is called the Ruan?
Ruyan, something like that, yeah. Can never pronounce it.
I should be able to pronounce it because it's close to my shoot name. But my notes for this was, I thought it went on a little bit too long. Syuri being the champion, I thought she kind of should have just ate right through them. She gave May a lot of offense in, and I just felt bad for poor Waka. Like, especially in the beginning where Waka's like, no, I'll start. Syuri just grounds, pounds, and puts on all these sorts of different arm bars. And then anytime she gets like 1 or 2 things in going towards the end of the match, Syuri just beats the crap out of her. I mean, Waka has just such a lovable face that you just feel, anytime she's in danger, you just feel bad for her. And you have the stiffest worker in the company, the champion, just not only beating you down, but like ready to take your arm. And it just looks like so legit. I just felt really bad for her. Like I just really did.
Yeah, it was certainly a choice in an attempt to go one-on-one in a shoot-style opening with Syuri, wasn't it, from Waka? It was, I don't know whether it was bravery or stupidity, really, but she ended up instantly in an armbar and going to the ropes, so maybe it was stupidity.
I'm talking about her and putting her over, so I don't know, maybe it's a little beach, so God bless her.
You're absolutely right. May seemed relatively clean once again, but apart from that and Waka's infectious happiness and Ruaka not at all being impressed about being made an honorary cosmic angel, there's not a great deal to talk about. I do agree with you. I think this perhaps went 2 minutes too long. You do want Syuri eating through what are effectively 3 rookies, but, you can argue it was a numbers game as opposed to anything. So, again, no one's really affected by this match. It wasn't supposed to be this match. I can't remember off the top of my head what the original card was supposed to be, but
I think it was supposed to be Lady C. I think it was supposed to be Ruaka was out and Lady C was supposed to be in this. I could be wrong.
Well, even so, I don't think it makes much of a difference. It was there. It sort of did a job, but otherwise, not a great deal to talk about, Matt. Match 2 was the tag team match we've been talking about. The Cosmic Angels, or Dream H, Tam Nakano and Mina Shirakawa defeated the DDM team of Julia and Tekla. Mina delivering Tekla's first pinfall loss with the glamorous collection Mina in 12 minutes and 1 second. We've obviously talked a lot about Tekla on the previous night, and everything that I saw in the 6-woman tag was sort of amplified in this match. And, I'm not going to say the same things we've said before, and I'm certainly not going to pile on, because the stuff she does in ring is good. I'm not bothered about that. The selling wasn't there, and I know they were trying to build this relationship between Tekla and Mina. They have this respect for each other. They've both got T-shirts and things like that, and obviously they're building towards the match at Nagoya Supreme Fight. But from what you saw between Mina and Tekla, from the opening sequence, there was a little bit of sloppiness there. Tekla at one point just flat out avoided all wrestling and just started pinching Mina, which was, again, a choice. Does this make you excited for their SWA match in Nagoya?
No, my first note was there was too much Tekla versus Mina. I understand this match was to build to that match. Like, if this was 80% of this match was Tekla and Mina, the 20% that Tam and Julia was in far outshined it. I love all the stuff. Obviously, Julia and Tam, they have a history. Maybe it's a little build towards their match because they're going to be in the 3-way with Mayu. But there was just too much Tekla and Mina, and I think if the Tekla Mina match goes over 7 minutes, I think I'm going to be bored. To be completely honest with you, I just think that, and the match is going to be different because I think they're going to do more more the toxic spider versus sexy spider, and outside of Maika doing the bear gimmick, there's really not much of that going into this big show next week. But I think that was too much, and I don't know. I think Tekla came in with all this fanfare when she was revealed to be one of the Momo mask people. It's the toxic spider thing went viral, and there was a lot of praise on her, right from the beginning, which is good. Anytime you get more eyes on the product or wrestling, that's good. But it just seems like the little things that she does, I just don't. And it just kind of just takes me out, or that she doesn't do, like the selling. She's pinching Mina. They're supposed to be in this title match. It's going to be the first champion since Siri. She was the champion for over 400 days, and she had to vacate the belt because she's now the red belt champion. So this match should be like a bigger deal than just pinching and sexy spider and putting people's heads in shirts so they get squished by their boobs. I don't know. I'm not excited for this match at all. Obviously, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm not opposed to, if I'm wrong about something, I'll be the first one to say, nope, I was wrong about that. I hope the two of them completely blow it out of the water because I want everything in Stardom to be really good. So again, we'll see what happens a week from now. But yeah, I'm not. If I'm looking at all the matches on the card, that's the one that I'm least looking forward to.
Yeah, completely agree. The only sort of thing that I could say about that, the difference in confidence in Mina, especially over the last 3 months, is unreal. She's like a different character from the one that came into Stardom, like a different person. She carries herself differently in ring. She carries herself differently. She's trying new things. And I think that's great. I think that's one of the big positives to come out of this mini feud she's been having with Tekla. But yeah, to say that I'm not exactly buzzing for the SWA match is a little bit of an understatement. Again, I've got nothing against Tekla. I think she's a good wrestler. I think she's got some great moves. Her finisher, the DDD, is great. I think she just needs to tone down certain aspects of her in-ring persona for it to be in-fitting. Because, do you know what? Let's not be negative. Let's move on. The Julia and Tam brief exchanges are always really good, and I completely agree with you. It was here as well.
Yeah, and again, we hope we're wrong. We hope we're wrong. Prove us wrong. Let's not be negative and let's just move on. But yeah, Tam and Julia, I'll take that all day, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to match 3, the 6-woman tag team match. The Stars team of Hazuki, Mei Iwatani, and Koguma defeated the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe, Saki Kashima, and Starlight Kid, with Koguma pinning Saki with the side roll-up in 14 minutes and 43 seconds. Some interesting things to come out of the pre-match promo, for once. This is the first time since Sumo Hall that Hazuki has come face-to-face with Momo after Momo turned on it in their match. Mayu lists that all 3 women have betrayed her at some point. She doesn't count Starlight Kids as a betrayal, but Starlight chose not to come back after Mayu won the gauntlet match on July 17th, so I do. And then Koguma talks about how she still wants that high-speed belt, and that's followed by perhaps the single best exchange of these 2 nights between Koguma and Starlight Kid. They have tremendous chemistry, and their high-speed exchanges seem to get better every time they face off, Matt.
Yeah, it's weird how Mayu said that she doesn't. Poor Mayu. I don't think she could ever have a relationship with anybody because she just can't trust anybody. But it's weird about how she said Starlight Kid. She didn't see it as a betrayal, because I kind of was like, other than the Io Shirai one, which set up the whole Queen's Quest faction, I think that's the biggest betrayal she's ever had.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe she's just she's just saying, oh, she'll come back, which is, we all think hopefully that's something that'll happen. Sometime maybe towards the end of the year, because I think everybody, especially from the Tokyo Dome, would love to see the MK sisters back together. But yeah, going to this match, these last 3 matches were absolute bangers, in my opinion. But yeah, it started out with a banger, as these always do with Starlight Kid and Koguma. Yeah, their chemistry for high speed is just absolutely fantastic. There's great triple team action from the Stars team. Again, Mayu, Hazuki, and Koguma. I really think that they're the uncrowned champions. No disrespect to the DDM team. I just think that the 3 of them are so good together. Hazuki looked awesome here. I love it how she gets into her armbar. Like, she'll have the person pinned. She doesn't hook the leg, but you'll see she has almost like a control over the wrist, because she knows she's going to float over into the crossface. And that crossface, there's no room for error in that thing. There's no holds. There's no daylight going through. When I see holds, I want to see them look legit. And that crossface she throws on is absolutely brilliant. Koguma Momo. I literally have. That's a singles match that I would like to see. And, going into this, everything kind of, breaks down between these 6 wrestlers. But coming out of this, that's the match I want to see the most, is Koguma and Momo. And I thought Saki Kasha looked excellent here. For her kind of be the lowest person on the totem pole as far as star power goes. I thought she came looking out great. Obviously, I kind of figured she would eat the pin, which she did here, but she didn't lose anything. In my opinion, she gained. And I know that you've been big on her every time we talk on the podcast, and I see it more and more. She's a very underrated wrestler in Oedo Tai. So I thought this match was excellent. Finish was good. Everybody looked good. Everybody came out of this looking better.
I mean, talking about Koguma, obviously, I know Chris, who we've had on the podcast, to do the end of year awards. Someone that I know that he's fallen out of love with Stardom, but one of the big things that he says is a huge positive in Stardom is Koguma. And I completely agree with him. Like, she is absolutely phenomenal. She can do the comedic bits, and it legitimately be funny as well. That's a really important thing. It comes across as entertaining, but she can also have those fantastic, absolute bangers of matches, which we saw against Starlight Kid, and then again against Starlight Kid and Azumi. She's capable of having absolutely fantastic matches. Hazuki and Momo, I thought, briefly had one of the most intense and raw emotional exchanges, and it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. We did have, a little bit of Mayu, but I'm wondering if she's a little bit injured, because she was wearing, I don't know if you noticed, the sort of compression shorts. And I don't know if that was just because she was cold, because she was wearing a massive fur coat during both promos, or if she's got some sort of muscle strain or something like that. But we didn't see a great deal of Mayu. But we did see a lot of Hazuki versus Momo and Koguma versus Starlight, so I'm always going to be here for that. Poor Saki. Like, I don't think I've ever looked at a matchup and thought anyone screamed Penny to as much as Saki did in this match.
She's so good. And she's so good.
I know. But I looked at it and was like, they're not going to have anyone else eat the pinfall. It's definitely going to be Saki. And sure enough, she got rolled up by Koguma. But This was one of the few matches that I actually gave a star rating to over these 2 nights. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought this was really, really entertaining. And you said these last 3 matches on this show are absolute bangers.
Yeah, I had a 3.5 stars as well. And I'm actually kind of excited to I'm going to plug the Patreon real quick. Obviously, the next thing we're talking about is our top 10 hidden gems. And in your book, Living the Dream, you have all these matches rated. And I haven't looked yet. So I'm probably going to watch 5 or 6 of these matches probably today because I have a kind of a break towards the end of my day today. And I'm excited to see what I'm going to rate them and then open up your book, which is called Living the Dream. You can get on Amazon and Lulu. And because when we rate these matches, we're always like half a star off. So I'm excited to see out of these 10 matches how close we're going to be on the rating. But I thought this match was tremendous. You know, it was a good way to kind of tip off these last 3 matches of the tour.
Absolutely. And we talk about, you know, we saw Saki and we thought nothing screams pin eater like Saki on this matchup. To me, nothing screamed time limit draw more than this match, which was the singles match 4, Unagi Sayaka versus Mirai, ending in a time limit draw for 15 minutes. And, you know, we've talked until the cows come home about Stardom's use of a time limit draw. But I actually thought this worked. Both women, who were obviously both going for belts at Nagoya Supreme Fight, Mirai going for the red belt, Unagi going for the white belt. This is quite astonishingly when you consider she's going for the top prize in Stardom. This is Mirai's first singles match, and she's going for the red belt in less than 2 weeks. That's an astonishing statistic for me. And obviously I know that, you know, there's other things going into it to make this a compelling match, and I am very excited to see what Mirai can do with Shiori. But isn't that crazy that she's had one singles match heading into this pay-per-view, Matt?
We talked between texting and talking on this podcast and before and after that. We're kind of like, well, this is the first big show of the year, and she's getting a title shot. We were kind of scratching our heads. And again, I haven't seen anything of Mirai other than since she's been in Stardom. But literally, the last note I wrote is, I buy Mirai now as a solid challenger for Shiori. And just to kind of get in the head of, you know, poor Unagi is going into this match. They have to sell it because she's getting the white belt shot and Mirai is getting the red belt shot coming here at the, anniversary show. But in her head, the day before, she just, it wasn't her fault or whatever. But regardless, she's looking at somebody got injured during a move that I did. So you're kind of wondering how this match is going to play out. And she clearly left that at the door. She clearly left the baggage at the door at that because she was great in this match. This match was, to quote Jim Ross, bowling shoot ugly. And I mean that the best way. I like my wrestling hard hitting. And, we talked about how Tekla's selling or whatever, her lack of selling, and Mirai's selling. Mirai's selling on this was fantastic. And she had an offensive and a defensive selling. And what I'm trying to say is there's just one spot in the match that I literally was just like, that was awesome. Unagi throws a Yakuza kick, a boot, right to Mirai's face. It's stiff. She hits her with it. Mirai sells it for a second and a half, and then she shrugs it off and then drills her with a Dynamite Kid style left-handed lariat. And I love left-handed lariats because it just makes me think of how awesome Dynamite Kid was. So it was just that point where we talked about if you're going to kind of no-sell a strike, do a Bryan Danielson, a Minoru Suzuki, Yuji Nagata, Masawa Kawada, yada, 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 where you eat the strike and then you sell it for a second and a half, you shrug it off, you hit a big strike back, and then both of you can go down and sell. It's literally a spot that takes 5.5 seconds. But that one spot to me was just like, okay, I am completely sold just from that. The way she sold for a little bit, was able to shrug it off and drill Unagi with that left-handed lariat after she just ate an insane kick to the face from Unagi. So I'm super excited going to this match with Shiori. And Mirai's submissions. She had a phenomenal double wrist lock. The way she got it on, the way she, positioned her body, didn't like she would get out of it. And the psychology of Unagi to kind of get out of, anytime she was putting a submission, instead of going to the ropes or trying to get out of it, she would roll Mirai up, which is just basically like, okay, if you stay in this submission for 3 seconds, I'm going to get the win, forcing Mirai to break the submission and create a little bit of separation. But I thought this match was awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, Mirai's selling is considerably better than it was on the 10th of January, which, we've already talked about. And I thought we talked about Maika's lariats, we talked about Himika's lariats, but there are some lariats that Mirai throws here where she damn near decapitates Unagi, and Unagi sells it beautifully. And it's not just about you selling on defense. It's, we've got Mirai selling exhaustion as she's throwing these lariats and then collapsing into the ropes and things like that. It's subtle things like that that make you realize that, she has got a different layer. And to begin with, one of the things that I was a little bit not, what's the best way of describing it? I wasn't necessarily a bit cautious, let's say, of Mirai was the only thing that I've really seen are lariats and body slams. And that's sort of the extent of what I've seen of her offense. And is that going to be enough to keep me compelled during a red belt match, which is, inevitably going to go 20 plus minutes? And this match was the first time I thought, do you know what? No, I am completely engaged. I've loved this match. It went 50 minutes, didn't feel 15 minutes. It felt like they even had an extra gear to go to, and it was still a great match. So all of my doubts surrounding Mirai's offense completely dispelled. I thought her lariats looked fantastic. Unagi, considering that she spent a significant amount of time on the back foot, looked great. Again, can't be easy to have injured someone, or an injury to have taken place. Unfair to say that she injured Lady C. But to be able to sort of put that, to the back of your mind, and then to put on a really, really, really great match in, a show that is ultimately going to be hidden in the annals of time, effectively, come, 3 weeks down the line. I thought this was really, really good. What did you give it rating-wise? It'd be interesting to see where we are on this.
I give it 3.5 stars.
I gave it 3.25. So again, we're roughly on the same page here, Matt, which is always promising. Always promising.
Yeah. Go us.
Go us, exactly. Main event then, tag team match. Maika and Himika defeated Aphrodite when Maika pinned Saya Kamatani with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 18 minutes and 47 seconds. Now, apparently, Maika has worked through her bear problems and bear attire, transitioning back into normal Maika. She's got the bear out of her system. She's normal Maika once again. And this opening exchange, this entire thing between Maika and Saya, is perhaps the most entertaining thing on the show for me. Those reversals, the speed of which both of these women are working, so crisp, so clean. God, I want to see this as a singles match. God, I want to see this for the white belt. And with everything that happens at the end, I imagine that at the culmination, at the climax of Saya versus Unagi, Maika will walk out and be the next challenger. That's my personal thought.
I agree with you 100%. But I'm going to back up the pre-match promo. Aphrodite, Sai, and Utami, they say that they want a shot at the tag belts in the future. So I was thinking, now I read the results for this about a week or so ago, but as I was watching this last night, I forgot who won. So I'm like, It's like, well, they're, laying claim to be challengers, even though Mike and Himika are the next challenger. So I'm watching this match, and at the start, and I'm like, well, who's going to get the pinfall? Are they going to do back-to-back time limit draws? I don't think so, but it wouldn't be out of the realm. So I was thinking, okay, Maika and Himika, here's my thought process going in. They're the next challengers, so they can't lose. But Sai is the white belt champion, and Utami was the red belt champion for 400 days. So I'm thinking, well, who's going to eat the pinfall? So as this match is building, I'm thinking Sai and Utami are going to win. Wouldn't it be crazy if Mike and Himika win the tag belts at the end of the month after coming off a loss, and then Utami and Saya, they can run this one back? And I think the tag division is just so stacked and coming off this match that it's like, it reminds me of Ring of Honor, like 10, 12 years ago, where you had the Briscoes, the King of Wrestlings, Motor City Machine Guns, Cena and Generico, the Young Bucks were just coming up. You had all these fantastic tag teams, and at any, Tyler Black and Jimmy Jacobs, any point in time, there could be a tag title change, and you can make it the main event, and everybody would be okay with it because everybody is almost so evenly matched. But I thought the finish here made complete sense. Again, because you want to build up more challengers for Saya. And I wouldn't be shocked if Maika does win the white belt. Maybe not this match, but maybe sometime in the summer or the fall. Because I thought, the way the match started, you had Utami and Himika. Some really good chain wrestling. Everything was, I thought everything went really well between the two of them. kind of just, building up the match. But then there was some great exchanges with Saya and Maika. And I think Maika is the perfect base for Saya's offense. Very much like Cesaro is like the perfect base for just about everybody.
I was just going to say to anyone.
Yeah, and I've wrestled him a few times, and it was just just like Mike is so giving and just so easy to work with, just because he's the big base. But I thought this match was absolutely fantastic, and again, it made me think just how well the tag division is going to be going forward, because you have Maika Himika, you have FWC, you have Saya Utami, you have possibly Momo and Starlight Kid, you have Mayu and whoever she teams up with. Maybe when Hannah comes back from school, it's Hannah. The possibility of Kerry Hojo coming back. There's so much that you can do in the tag division, and you can make it main event any show for the belts, and it would make complete sense. So I thought this was an absolute banger. I thought out of the two shows, this was the best match, and I gave this a solid 4 stars.
I mean, aside from Maika and Saya, and obviously they've got history dating back to the Future of the Stardom Championship, I thought that the audience was so receptive of the Utami and Himika sort of just big hoss forearms and slapping each other with lariats, and the audience was so into it. It was a lovely venue as well, by the way. We should talk about that for a minute. The ballroom that they were in, lovely. The ceiling, fantastic. Sorry, got completely distracted, but I thought this, considering this was a match that had to be done basically on the fly because of injury, and the fact that they were still able to not only put together a fantastic match, but also sort of change it all. So we've got things like storyline going in with the whole Aphrodite wanting to challenge for the tag belts, and then we've got Maika pinning Saya, so she could potentially be the next challenger or the challenger after that for the white belt. They did tremendously well here. I gave it 3 3/4. I thought, considering all of those factors, this was an absolute banger. And this, we're looking ahead to 2023. This could be one of those aforementioned hidden gems that we talk about, in January 2023 about 2022. It was a really, really good match. There was no one being carried. All 4 women gave everything. Post-match, FWC came out, Koguma with a bear balloon, obviously, and Maika says that she knows a clever way to break Koguma's bear spell. Matt, you think she's just going to lariat the bear out of her? Do we think that's what's going to happen?
I think you take your Avengers Endgame theory and my Avengers Infinity War theory. I should know better. And my Stan Hansen, Kenta Kobashi, All Japan theory. And let's melt the best of 2 worlds together. Let's melt King's Road, Stan Hansen, and Avengers Endgame, and that's how you beat the bear.
I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. So, just a couple of previews before we talk about Nagoya Supreme Fight and give our predictions as to who is going to win those battles. We've got 2 shows before then. The first of which is obviously today, as we're recording, Saturday the 22nd of January in Kres Gymnasium in Kochi. The matches are as follows. Singles match, Waka Tsukiyama versus Saki Kashima. We've then got another singles match, which sees Himika take on Unagi. Tag team match with Maika and Syuri taking on Aphrodite. I am very excited about that. And then we've got 2 6-woman tags to close the show. The first is the DDM team of Julia Tekla and Mirai taking on the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Waka. And then the main event is going to be the Stars team of Mayu, Hazuki, and Koguma taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Tam, Mina, and Mei Sakurai. Anything that jumps out at you there, Matt? Anything that really tickles your fancy?
The last 2, everything kind of looks like it's going to be solid, but it's going to be interesting to see Julia, who's, this badass, against evil Momo in the 6th woman. Then obviously anytime you get the Stars team of Mayu, Koguma, and Hazuki in the ring, especially, some more Mayu and Tam, those 2 should be interesting. Those 2 are the 2 ones that jump out. Who was Aphrodite wrestling? I'm sorry.
Aphrodite are wrestling the team of Syuri and Maika.
Ooh, you know what? That's the match I'm probably looking forward to the most.
Exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, that could be... if they give that 15 minutes, that could be really, really tasty. So, We've also got, sorry, I'm also eating an orange at the same time. We've got the show from the 23rd of January, which will be from the Edion Arena Osaka 2, and this will be the last show before Nagoya Supreme Fight, and that is as follows. We have got the Momo Kogo sort of assessment match against Unagi Sayaka. We've then got a three-way tag team match with Aphrodite taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Mina, Shirakawa, and Waka Tsukiyama, and the Ueda Tai team of Saki Kashima and the returning Fukigen Death. We've then got a singles match, Tam Nakano versus Mei Sakurai. We then end with 2 6-woman tags. The first, Stars, Mayu, Hazuki, and Koguma taking on Momo, Starlight Kid, and Ruaka. And then possibly the biggest match, we've then got an all DDM 6-woman tag, the team of Julia, Mirai, and Tekla taking on Himika, Maika, and Syuri. I mean, Matt, aside from the main event, which we'll talk about in a second, what sort of tickles your fancy there?
Co-main. The co-main. That should definitely be interesting. But yeah, it's basically the main event is a DDM Civil War. And I'm going to go on a limb here, bet no money, but I'm going to go on a limb and saying Julia Pinsiri.
Wow.
Betting no money. Maybe $1.
$1. Wow. Going out on a limb here. I like it.
And then if I lose that $1, you, the fans, can use that $1 to subscribe to our high speed tier on our Patreon. Oh, what a salesman.
Honestly, the way you transition into things is just, it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty, Matt. I have a theory, and I know it won't happen, but what if Julia was to... Because someone has to take the pinfall. Unless they do time limit draw, which, they might well do. They might well do. But if they're going to go for a pinfall, what about if Julia beats Syuri, but because Tekla cheated? What if Tekla cheats, hits Syuri with the ref's back's turn, whatever, and then Julia pins Syuri? That could be the genesis of something, because Stardom have the opportunity here to really start to plant those seeds. Even if it goes to a time limit draw, they've got the opportunity to really plant seeds, especially between Himika, Maika, and then Mirai and Tekla, because I've got a feeling it's going to be about Himika. Himika is going to be the linchpin here somewhere. I've just got that feeling that she's going to be the one who voices her displeasure first, possibly because she had a claim to the red belt first. I don't know. But this could be really, really entertaining. I mean, I've seen, looking at the rest of the card, I've seen some negativity towards Tam versus Mei Sakurai. It's been a while since we've seen Mei in a singles match. She is with Tam, so, we've seen Tam work wonders with Unagi and with Mina up until Mina's injury. So it'll be interesting to see what she does with Mei. Mei has progressively looked better in multi-women's or multi-women matches. We'll see what she does when it comes to a singles match. Are you quietly optimistic, Matt, that this could be a good match?
I think it can be, just because, again, it's Tam, and she's in there with a stablemate, and by making her stablemates look better, she makes the stable look better. And who is the leader of that stable? Tam. So I think Tam will do everything in her power to make that match make sense and make her look good. It'll probably go about 6-7 minutes. But I think that it's going, when we're reviewing it next week on the podcast, I think we're both going to think, wow, that match was better than we thought it was going to be.
Interesting. So let's look ahead to Nagoya Supreme Fight then. Someone I didn't mention, who of course was off the cards due to injury, is Azumi. And she returns at Nagoya Supreme Fight. We've actually had a couple of card changes to Nagoya Supreme Fight. So the opener on the pre-show, which was initially going to be, I believe, a 5-way, is now a battle royal with Momo Kogo, Waka Tsukiyama, Mei Sakurai, Fukigen Death, Ruaka, Saki Kashima, and Rina. So that's your pre-show match. We've then got the Future of Stardom Championship match between Hanan and Lady C. Obviously, we hope Lady C is going to be all right. Now, this is the other change on the card. The grudge match, which was initially a singles match between Utami and Momo, is now a tag team match. Utami Hayashishita and Azumi taking on the team of Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid. Matt, I know you were extremely excited about the promise of a singles match between Utami and Momo. Are you disappointed in what they've changed it to?
Yes and no. Here's the reason why. Yes, because obviously I want to see that match. No, just because we talked about it last week that this match should be the main event or the co-main event of a big show, and it's almost lost in the shuffle because it's like I think the third match down. I think you just said. So I think the fact that they're making it a tag match, you're kind of teasing it a little. Obviously, you have Azumi looking for revenge. We'll see some Azumi Starlight Kid, which will be good. And the main focus, I think, will be Utami and Momo. So I think just the fact that they may have looked at this card that's like, well, it's so stacked, and this is probably the biggest, no disrespect to any of the championships because they've done a phenomenal job over the years building up all the belts. But to me, this was, and I said it last week, that's the match I want to see the most is Momo and Utami, just because, the Queen's Quest and the match that they had when Utami was champion a year and change ago. And obviously there's a completely different dynamic with Momo being the heel and Utami being super aggressive by, pulling on Momo's hair post-match promos. But I think putting this as a tag match in this stacked card, I think is the way to go because I think we're going to get it as a main event or a co-main event somewhere within the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's my theory on what they did. And I think booking wise, it's smart. Because if you put this third match down, you're only going to give it 9 or 10 minutes, which it would be great, but I think this match needs somewhere around 20 to tell that story.
Don't forget as well, Matt, we've got 2 nights at Sumo Hall we have to fill. And to put Utami and Momo on one of those nights as a featured match in a huge venue might be the way to go as opposed to doing it here. You don't want to spaff all of your Queen's Quest feuds up the wall before we've had a chance to really build them and really add that layer of aggression. So we've got this one here, and I fully expect Oedo Tai to win, and we'll do our predictions in a moment. But what about then if on the second night of World Climax in Sumo Hall, Utami and Momo go 17 minutes. Momo bludgeons Utami, wins, and then challenges the winner of the red belt later on that night.
You know what? I would totally not only be in for that, I would watch it, and I will come on a podcast and talk to you about it. How about that?
I think that's a great idea. I think we should make a date and put it in the diary for that, Matt. I think that would be a great idea. So let's go through this card and let's just give our predictions for who is going to win. We've talked quite a lot, obviously, about the build and things like that. So let's give our predictions as our last thing before we sign off. That Battle Royal, so I'll just remind you of the entrance: Rina, Saki Kashima, Ruaka, Fukigen Death, Mei Sakurai, Waka Tsukiyama, and Momo Kogo. I mean, for me, it's going to be Fukigen Death. It's a multi-woman on the pre-show. Any multi-woman pre-show match, it's going to be Fukigen Death, Matt.
I would say Fukigen Death, but just to be different, I'm going to say Saki, because I think Saki somewhere down the line is going to get that white belt title shot just because she pinned Saya at the captain's match towards the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, always bet on Death, but just to be different, I'm going to say Saki.
Interesting. So we open the main card with the Future of Stardom Championship match. Hanan versus Lady C. I'm going to go Hanan. Much as Lady C has done tremendously well, improved hugely, I don't think she's quite ready for the Future of Stardom Championship just yet. I do think she'll hold it, absolutely, but I see Hanan retaining here.
This is the hardest match for me to pick, which is a good way to start it off.
Well, absolutely.
Obviously, we hope that Lady C's okay, but I'm going to agree with you saying Hannah wins, but I would not be shocked if I'm wrong, considering the fact that these last few big shows when I do predictions, I'm wrong about 50% of the time. So I wouldn't go to Vegas and bet any money on it, but I'm going to agree with you and say Hannah's going to win.
We then go on to the aforementioned Grudge tag team match. The Queen's Quest team of Utami and Azumi taking on the Oedo Tai team of Starlight and Momo. I would be incredibly surprised if Queen's Quest win this, because aside from Momo beating Azumi, Oedo Tai have had a lot of losses in the last couple of weeks. So they need the win here, in my opinion, especially to keep that heat of Momo's turn going, especially if we are going to head towards, I know we've got a big show in February in Nagata, but it wouldn't surprise me if they try and build this towards Sumo Hall. For me, Momo has to win and has to be the one doing the pin.
I agree, but not as defined as you, just because what if Azumi pins Starlight Kid and then this way she gets her high-speed title shot, because we have some shows we have to fill in February, getting to the those big shows in March. So that's a possibility that they can go with. I wouldn't be shocked if if Queen's Quest is going to win, that's the way I think it needs to be done. I think it needs to be Azumi coming back from an injury, all fired up, pissed off, and she pins her, her first rival, Starlight Kid, and then you kind of build that there. But I'm going to agree with you and say that Momo's got to get the fall here. And who does she pin? Utami? Does she pin Azumi? What do you think?
I think she pins Azumi.
Yeah, I agree. I think she just keeps beating her until she finally gets maybe like in a revenge match coming up. But yeah, I agree, but I would not be shocked if they go the other way with this.
In my opinion, in my head, they're going to build it, obviously not to the same standard, but in my head, they're going to do it like the Io versus Mayu match, that first match where Momo took apart Azumi. You're then going to have this second match in the series where Azumi is going to be that fired up that she's going to make a mistake. Momo's going to capitalize, and then we're going to have a third one in the trilogy whenever down the line, and that will be the one Azumi wins. But here, I think we need to keep that fire going. We need to keep that hatred towards Momo going. So that's how I see it.
If you fans are wondering what Rob's talking about with the Io Mayu, you can listen to the full review of Io Shirai's 14 title defenses on our Patreon.
Absolutely. Sign up to our white belt or red belt tier to get 2 bonus episodes a month. I tell you what, honestly, can't believe how well you're integrating these. It's a thing of beauty, like I said before. We've then got match 3, the vacant SWA World Championship match. Mina Shirakawa versus Tekla. Matt, I'll let you go first on this one.
Tekla, again, I don't like to be negative, especially about Stardom. Especially about wrestling in general, just because I just love all of it. But Tekla's going to win, and I just hope this match is a lot better than I talked about that it could be.
I do like the idea of Mina going on excursion, but until COVID restrictions are lifted, it wouldn't surprise me if they have Tekla hold it for a couple of months just so that she can have some matches in Japan, because obviously if Mina wins it, you've got Tekla that she can fight against until all of the COVID restrictions are out of place. So, yeah, I'm going to go Tekla. Hopefully, it'll be a good match, but I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully, it'll be a good match. Match 4. We've then got the Goddesses of Stardom Championship match with the champions FWC taking on the challengers Maika and Himeka. Go on, Matt. What do you think?
This is the people's main event, in my opinion, the way that this match has been built. I think this could steal the show. I really think that this could be the best match of the show, either this or the main event. And then we have the 3-way. Jeez, I've just talked myself in and out of what could be match of the show. But just how well these two teams have been built up, I think this is going to be great. I'm excited to see the breaking of the bear. But I think just because it's FWC's first title defense, they won the Goddess of Stardom tournament to get the title shot. They finally beat ALK. I just don't see FWC losing the belts this quick. But again, I would not be shocked and surprised, because we do have the kind of the bonus benefactor here is how is Maika going to beat the bear, and does she beat the bear here? So I don't know. So we have like storyline inside of a storyline inside of a storyline with 4 fantastic competitors.
Storylineception. It's what we love to see. I also think that it'll be FWC that take the win here. I don't think Maika or Himeka will really be, their pushes won't be derailed by losing here, especially if it's by a flash roll up from Koguma or the Hazuki Strahl. It would, something like that wouldn't surprise me. We then got match 5, which is the Wonder of Stardom Championship, which will see the champion Saya Kamatani defend against Unagi Sayaka. I think we're both in agreement here, Matt, that Saya's winning this.
Yeah, this is just to kind of build her, and I think Unagi's going to get built up here too. I think she's going to have another banger of a match. We've seen her have the banger of a match with Mirai. I think this is going to be another really good one. But if I'm going to put all my money on one match in this card that I know I'm right, this is the one. I don't think there's any way that Saya loses here.
One question I just wanted to ask. Obviously, we've come off the back of 2 fairly long white belt reigns in Julia and Tam. Is Saya the one to have that shorter reign? Maybe defend it here, defend it in February, and then lose it at Sumo Hall, maybe to a Maika? Or do you see Saya holding this for a long time?
Nope. What you just said is what I think is going to happen. I think she'll defend it here. She'll get the Saki. I think Saki's going to she'll challenge for the belt again, just based off the pinfall she had at the end of last year over Saya, and maybe one more. Maybe she'll have 2 defenses in February just to load up those shows. But I think she's going to lose it to Maika at one of the Sumo Hall shows.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. The semi-main then. 3-way match with 2 winners being established. Obviously, those 2 winners will face the red belt champion on the 26th and the 27th of March, respectively, at those Sumo Hall shows, with the match being between Mayu Iwatani, Julia, and Tam Nakano. Now, we spoke about this last week, and I had a theory that the winners were going to be Mayu and Julia, with Mayu losing on the 26th to Syuri, and then Julia beating Syuri on the 27th. Now, I'm quite proud of my own little fantasy booking there, so I'm going to stick with that. What do you think, Matt? I know you've got a love for Tam. Is that personal love of Tam going to make you sort of go that way, or do you think it's a Mayu and Julia slam dunk?
Yeah, it's not a slam dunk, but I think everyone agrees that Mayu's going to get one of the shots. But I just want to make sure, I was reading up on this the other day, I just want to make sure I have this right. So it's a 3-way. Whoever gets the first pinfall, they leave the match, and they get the first shot on the 26th. Do I have that correct?
That is the way I've interpreted it, yes.
Okay, because originally I thought, before I read it, I thought it would be whoever gets pinned, like say Mayu pins Julia. Julia's out, so she can't defend. But it's whoever gets the first pinfall, they get the first shot, which I think whoever gets the first pinfall should get the shot at the second date. But so obviously they have something lined up here. I like your theory. It's a very good possibility, but I think it's going to be Mayu's going to get the pinfall. She's going to exit it. And then I think that's definitely what's going to happen, because they're definitely building between the 3 of them to a Julia Tam singles match, and we're going to get like a half a singles match here. So I think Mayu gets the first pinfall, and then I think it's going to be Tam getting the second one, but I would not be shocked at all if your theory is right.
It wouldn't surprise me if Tam doesn't get the red belt shot here. She's just come off the back of a white belt reign. So Julia gets the last shot. Mayu loses on the 26th. Julia wins on the 27th. Because again, we've just come off the back of 2 effectively year-long reigns. Well, it was a year-long reign. It's 400 days from Utami, 409, I think, 402. And then Mayu was 377 days. Wouldn't surprise me if Syuri is a shorter champion. So why not have her beat Mayu, complete that legacy, lose to Julia, and then if we do that big show at the end of the year, as proved by the Budokan show, what main evented that show? Julia versus Tam. What got all the hype? Julia versus Tam. Why not have that as your big title match at the end of 2022? Tam versus Julia for the red belt. There's history there. There's enough there to fuel a fantastic main event, the same as they did with Utami and Syuri. That's where I think this will go.
I see your point, and I'm gonna say this: whoever eats the pinfall in the first 3-way, that's the person that's going to win the second fall. Because I think then that'll be a build. It's like, okay, because like say Julia gets beat by Mayu and then Tam beats Julia, well then you just kind of bury Julia. She just ate 2 falls. So I think the person that eats the first fall is going to win the second fall.
Agreed.
I think that's going to happen. Not that. I mean, I think Tam and Mayu. I think all 3 of these ladies can lose 3 or 4 matches in a row and then build themselves back up in a show.
Oh yeah,
I think they're all that good. I see your point, but again, to me, in the back of my head, the booking right now needs to be to get the red belt on Momo as soon as possible. And you can have so many people. You know, we talked about how maybe that's what's going to happen in the co-main event of the second day. Momo beats Utami and then challenges Syuri for the belt, and then beats Syuri, in April or May, and then you give her a 5, 6, 7 month run where you can have Mayu chase, you can have Julia chase, you can have Syuri chase, Utami chase up until towards the end of the year. I think the smart booking is the money's in the chase, and you need coming off Utami's big reign. Obviously, it was a financial success for Stardom in 21, so you need to do something that's going to capitalize on that. And I think a heel Momo as champion for a good part of the year with all these baby faces chasing, the money's in the chase. And I think that's where they should go, and that's where I think they will go. But I would not be shocked if your theory is right.
And then we've got the main event, the World of Stardom Championship match, a 30-minute time limit, so the time limit has been re-established for this main event. Syuri, the champion, versus Mirai. if you had to give a percentage of Mirai winning, is it higher than a 3% chance or not?
Now let me ask you. I'm going to answer your question with a question: who has a better shot at winning, Unagi or Mirai?
Oh God, Unagi.
Yeah, I think Unagi's 3.5%, Mirai is 3%.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we see any of the major belts change hands. Obviously, the Artists of Stardom belts aren't on the line because Natsupoi not on the card. I just see this as being a very, very good match quality card, but I think obviously we have got to start building towards Sumo Hall, because not only are we having one night at Sumo Hall, we're having 2 nights at Sumo Hall, and we've got a pay-per-view in the middle of that as well in February. I think that's the end. So let's tie this off. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you want to find us on any podcast platform, subscribe there. We are literally everywhere. You can follow our Patreon and subscribe to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Stardom Cast, and you can get exclusive bonus episodes. And again, we'll be looking at the 10 hidden gems of 2021, and of course that Sumo Hall show from 2013. You can talk to us on Twitter at The Stardom Cast. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Matt, where can they find you?
Look for me on Instagram and or the Twitter. Just search Matt Turner OF, and I'm right there. And always, it seems like every day I'm getting some positive feedback on the podcast or some really, really good, interesting questions. And if it's a question that I can't answer, I could probably ask Rob, and he would probably know as well. So we appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten. It's nothing but been positive. So let's keep moving forward.
And if I don't know, I'll ask our Discord, which, of course, you can join by looking at the podcast description notes and clicking on the Discord server link. It's a great place to be and just chat random nonsense about Stardom. And yeah, thank you for listening, guys. We'll be back again next week talking about the shows on the 22nd and the 23rd. And then we'll be back to go through the Nagoya Supreme Fight show. Until then, thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll talk to you guys again soon.